The United States has a long history of family dynasties, but what makes a family influential today? Town and Country magazine, this May issue, features the 50 most prominent American families. Jay Fielden is Town and Country's editor-in-chief. Welcome.
Thank you, Charlie.
How do we
nice
define, well, it's good to have you. How do we define prominence?
Well, I think today we think of it, I hope, as being something that requires more than money, even though most lists that you look at when people are being judged as who's most powerful, just add up the dollar bills they've got in the bank. And we thought, wouldn't it be more interesting to really look at a number of categories that would determine who the families would be. So we thought about money, of course, but we also thought about taste, and we thought about philanthropy, and we thought about dynasty in the sense of how successful has a family been in passing down its values and its talent and its way of living life.
So the most powerful, you say, is the Bush family because?
Well, I think you can't argue with producing, two governors and two presidents. You'd have to go back to the Adams family to really hit that mark. And the Kennedys are another great dynasty that make the list, but the Bushes seem to be healthy in terms of, the grandchildren. The George P. Bush, Jeb's son, who lives in Dallas, has announced a political ambitious career that will obviously have political ambitions. I think people still love to talk about Jeb, so this would be foolish of us not to recognize the potential there of another.
And in terms of power, you also had the Emanuel family on the list this year. I think that may be surprising
there's
to
two
some
sets
people.
of brothers that I think are really remarkable. The Mannings on the one hand, two great quarterbacks. The third brother, because of a disease, didn't make it, though he might have been the greatest quarterback of them all. And then the Emanuels, I think, really fascinating. Three brothers, obviously, come from a very interesting family. Ram, Ari, and the brother who is a doctor and a very prominent. Yes, thank you. So, yeah, they really kind of cover the gamut.
And who do you say is the most inspiring family?
Well, I think what we came up with was the Reeve family, and even though there's a number of families on here that are amazing.
Meaning like Christopher Reeve?
Yeah, excuse me, Christopher Reeve and his children who are now coming into being adults. And anyway, I think we think of Christopher, what a remarkable example of courage and endurance under a horrific situation, set up a foundation that's raised almost $500 million. The children are now emerging as prominent people. The daughter, Alexandra, is a lawyer on the Senate Judiciary Committee. The other two are just coming into their own, a filmmaker and one who hasn't graduated from college yet, so a very impressive group.
And the most generous?
I think it's easy. I bet you could all guess what it is. The Gates. I mean, I think, again, that's one thing where you can just look at the bucks. And $26 billion that has been given away, and the hands-on way that they go about the things they believe in.
But I mean, you could also consider the Walmart Sam.
Yes.
What's his name?
Yes. Walton.
Yeah, he's number two on that
Walton,
list.
right?
Yeah. He's on the
And
list.
they're on there. They're number two. Or maybe they're not number two. They might be number three. But they do have the second biggest foundation. They also do amazing other things. Alice has started a museum, a very interesting museum in Arkansas. And I think, that's where the judging came in. And, maybe check us next year and maybe they'll be on top or something.
All right. Okay. Town and Country also had a list of the most eligible bachelors. I don't disagree with the
Never
choice.
heard of that.
Charlie Rose was on the list. I'm just curious about the criteria.
I am too. I am too. Actually, I called him up and said, "How could you make a mistake like this?"
He did, but I said, Charlie, it wasn't a mistake.
No,
Charm,
yes, I have many
elegance.
women who would disagree. It was no mistake. Thank you, Jay Fielden.